Welcome to the Fantasy Thinker. I'm Jared Quartermatch, and today we are going to be doing our top five books of the 2023. And I kind of want to do just a year-end 2023 review and maybe peek into some plans for next year. So, with this year ending, I just want to say I had a lot of fun reading books this year. I read about 37 books, um, which is about 3 books a month, which is quite a bit for me. It's probably the most books I've ever read in a single year because I, I really was what's the word I'm looking for? Inspired. I really was motivated to read a lot, just read and inspired to read a lot because of creating this channel, but also because of the interaction that I've had with a lot of great people on here and a lot of great people on pagechewing.com. I want to give that a special mention too. It's really motivated me to read a lot, to dive into it a lot, and to um, analyze everything that I'm reading as well. And it wasn't because I was I was speed reading or anything like that. I was just more motivated to read stuff and having a great time doing it. So that has been my 2023 reading year. So these are going to be the top 5 books of the year. And I'm cheating because number 5 is a tie, so it's actually top 6. Um, but I just wanted to mention both of these. So sitting at number 5 is Ian Esselmon's Forge of the High Mage, a tale to the past of ascendancy. This was released this year, and I really love Esselmon's take on the origins of the Malazan Empire. And the Malazan is one of my favorite series, and he definitely delivered with this book. It was a lot of fun to read that. But tied with that at number 5 is also released this year is Return to Adon by Philip Chase. We all know Philip on here on BookTube. He's a great friend to all booktubers, and he also wrote an excellent trilogy with a really spectacular ending. I love endings. Endings are like my favorite thing. So when somebody really sticks to ending to a series, that is what I really enjoy the most. So those 2 books come in at number 5, and this is my only self-published book on my top 5 here. So that's significant too. All right, coming in at number 4 is a non-fantasy book on the Fantasy Thinker, Stoner by John Williams. This contemporary literature kind of took the booktube world by storm, and everybody had it on their top list somewhere. Whoever read it, and so this was a surprising read for me, but I was glad that I liked it. Joanna recommended it to, and well, that's the recommendation that I got. So number 4, John Williams Stoner, an excellent look into literature and into the life of a professor of literature. So, uh, number 3, the book that Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. This was my first exposure to Mark Lawrence writing, and I absolutely love this. Um, it's about a magical library. I mean, that drew me in so much, and I just love all the themes he talks about in here. Um, and I just really, I don't know, there's something about the characters that grabbed me from the start, and this is a great beginning to a trilogy. And I also read the overdue short story that went along with this, which gives us a little additional insight into this world that he created here. So highly recommended. Number 3, the book that wouldn't burn, and I'm looking forward to the second book next year. It's going to be released. Um, Number 2, and this was a really tough choice between 2 and 1, but uh, you know, if I had to choose, this is going to be number 2. And this is based upon, my personal enjoyment of the books. And so these top five are the best books I enjoyed this year. So number two is Curse of the Mystery by Janie Wirtz. This book really, really, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Challenged my perceptions and blew my mind about what fantasy can do and what it is, and just the pure level of technical ability with writing uh, just blew me away. Um, and Curse of the Mystery is the start of the books of 11 book series called The Wars of Light and Shadow, which the 11th book is due out next year. So do yourself a favor and start this series and catch up so that you can get the ending. And I also want to mention Warhost of Vastmark because that was, my second favorite in the series so far, or maybe even tied with this one because it's hard to choose. It's hard to choose amongst all the Wars and Light and Shadows books, but I thought Warhost of Vastmark had just a spectacular ending, and I like endings. So um, I'd be starting. I've read 4 books in this series so far, and I'd be starting the 5th in a couple days here. So um, this is number 2 outstanding series, and number 1 should be no surprise to anybody on this channel, um, as I've been talking about it for most of the year. So, The Killing God by Stephen Donaldson, book 3 in the Great God's War, is my favorite book of the year. I just thought it was fantastic. What an ending! It tears rolling down the eyes. It had everything in it. It had everything. This series had all the aspects of fantasy you wanted, but all the um, the insight and the excellent writing that Donaldson can bring. It was the perfect fantasy ending trilogy that I can imagine, and it really worked for me. I really love this book, so please do yourself a favor, go out and read The Great God's War by Stephen Donaldson. So that's my top five. And so for this year, um, on the channel, I did like I said, I read about 37 books. I've been doing a reread of Malazan, so that's been going along. So I've reread, The Bone Hunters and Reaper's Gale and Toll the Hounds on the main Malazan book series, but I've also reread um, Return of the Crimson Guard, Stonewielder, and am currently in Orbs Up the Throne for Esselmont's novels of the Malazan Empire. So those are my rereads. Really enjoying those. I'll continue those into 2024. I'm in Orbs Up the Throne right now. I should move on to Dust of Dreams after that. So I'll be continuing that. I also, of course, got into self-published fantasy this past year. It started with Von Roycroft's The Severing Sun, and I just finished the second book in his series, Bold Ascension. Just did a review on that. I also, of course, read Philip Chase's Adon trilogy, which was spectacular. And so that's quite a bit of self-pub there. That's already 5 books. And I also read 2 of P.L. Stewart's books in the Drowned Kingdoms saga. Those are excellent, so you need to check those out. Um, and I also read Thiago Abdallah's A Touch of Light, which was very good. So that's a trend I want to continue for 2024. I want to try to get in one self-published book a month and keep that going. Um, and I also read one nonfiction book last year. It's called The Earth Transformed, An Untold History by Peter Frankopan. an excellent retelling of the history of the world based upon the transformation of the Earth and how of through climate and also like volcanic eruption and stuff like that, but also the effect that cultures and different tribes had on the Earth as they evolved and moved around and what have you. So it was very well done, well told retelling of the history of the world, and I really enjoyed that a lot. I hope to get a couple more nonfiction reads, um, on my docket there for next year, because I would like to read a couple more history books than just one, even though that was a big one. But um, and I'll continue to read graphic novels. Of course, I read quite a few last year. And so a couple of standouts were Norse mythology and a couple of adaptations of Octavia Butler's work, the Parable of the Sower and Kindred. So those were really well done. Um, and yeah, and of course I'll be continuing on. One of the highlights of the year was joining a read along for the Sci-Fi Masterworks collection on pagechewing.com, and I'll be continuing along with that because that's been a lot of fun, really broadening my horizons on in science fiction. All those old sci-fi books that I never got around to reading, I am doing so now, and so that's really cool. And of course, I'll be continuing on next year with the Wars of Light and Shadow and the read along for that on pagechewing.com as well. And that's been a highlight for me because I was able to talk to the author Janie Worth. That's been just a great time and a true honor. um, so for other stuff that I on a channel that I did during the year, um, I started BookThink, which is my monthly show, I guess, segment, where I talk to somebody else. I talk to a person who tries to either convince me to read a book or has read a book that I've already read, and we discussed that book. So that's been a lot of fun. And my most watched video last year was BookThink number 4 with AP Canavan, talking about Stephen Erickson's Rejoice, a Knife to the Heart, and that was a lot of fun. The next most watched video was my review of Curse of the Mistwraith. And that's the review because I finished this back in March last year. And that's the review that got um, me invited on to pagechewing.com and started my journey there, and that's been a lot of fun. Uh, my next most watched video was a reading the prose segment. That's been a segment I've been having fun with. Whenever I usually take a passage of from a book I'm reading, and I analyze it, break it down, and stuff like that. That'll I'll keep doing that as stuff strikes my fancy. And something has to stand out to me, and an idea has to pop into my head when I'm doing that, so that I can have something useful to talk about. And I did one of those with my third most watched video was one where I had AP Canavan on as a guest to talk about passages from Rejoice, a Knife to the Heart. And my fourth most watched video was BookThink number 5 with Philip Chase. We talked about old English poems. That was a blast. And yeah, I plan on reading a few more old English poems as next year, because they're fun, they're short, and they're very very interesting to read. And then another most watched video was my review of The Killing God. So I guess there is some people listening out there, and that was up there. And another segment I'm doing on here is called Lost Not Forgotten, where I talk about books that nobody talks about, or um, that I've kind of forgot about, and I just dug up, and I was like, oh wow, I forgot about that. The video that got most watched for that was the one on horse clans by Robert Adams. So that was kind of surprising because I didn't know that many people knew about it or were interested in that series, which came way back in the 70s and early 80s, and just was one of those series that really stuck with me over the years, and was really cool. So I'll continue that segment if I find old stuff that that I think is worth talking about that nobody else has brought up. So that is kind of a short wrap up of the year. Um, if there's anything else that you guys can think of that I may have forgotten about, please let me know. And so hopefully next year I'll continue on with some of these series that I'm involved in, and the reread and the Wars of Light and Shadow and the sci-fi series, and of course I'm always eager to continue on reading comics um, and just hoping to find some stuff to analyze. One thing I also started last year was my comics versus prose for the Dark Horse adaptation of Assassin's Apprentice um, by Robin Hobb, and I hope to continue doing that. And hopefully, Dark Horse will wrap up their adaptation of Assassin's Apprentice next year, so that I can actually get into the rest of the novels in that series. That'd be nice. And so, like I said, if there's anything else that you guys can think of that I might have forgotten about, let me know in the comments below. And let me know if there's any other potential uh, achievable goals that I might want to look into for next year as well. So I hope you enjoyed my top 5 of the year. And if you did, please like and subscribe below. And be good to each other. Thank you.